Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is the all-open discussion show. You know, on the John Campea Show in the mornings, we save a few minutes for live open questions, but that's all we do here on Open Mic. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into your questions, and we're starting things off today with Digoto1, who writes, have you seen the latest Infinity War TV spot? There's a quick shot of Thanos with 4 Infinity Stones. Okay, look. Here's the thing. I get so many tweets, and I'm laughing about the situation. I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at anybody else. I'm just kind of chuckling at the situation. Here's the thing. I get so many tweets and questions and emails about, John, did you see in this shot there's 2 Infinity Stones? John, do you think they're CGing out Infinity Stones? John, did you see in this new thing there's 4 Infinity Stones? I don't care. I don't care. And there's a couple of reasons I don't care. Reason number one, and this is first and foremost, is these images we're seeing, we have no idea what the context is. No idea what the context is. So we don't know if it's a fantasy sequence, if it's a dream sequence of Thanos itself, if it's a flashback of when Thanos almost had the Infinity Stones once. We don't know if it's in the movie, if at what point in the movie live action wise. If it is in the movie, at what point is it happening? We don't know any of this, so I don't give a shit. I really don't. I mean, I'm super excited about this movie, and I'm dying to see how it all unfolds. But, you know, people have been like emailing me so many questions. John, I think the Soul Stone is here. Where do you think the Soul Stone is? I don't care. I don't care. I have no idea. And until the movie tells me, I don't care. Not that anybody else shouldn't care. And not that everybody else shouldn't be speculating and talking about it. Absolutely. 100%. If you're having fun speculating about that, go for it. But, you know, for me personally, when it comes to the Infinity Stones, and is there 1 Infinity Stone in the gauntlet of that shot? And there's 2? Is there 4? I don't care. Because ultimately, it doesn't mean anything. Ultimately, we don't know, even if we see something in a shot, we don't know what the context is. We don't know, you know, if it's even happening in the live action of the movie itself, or if it's some sort of flashback or a futurescape or a vision of things to come. We just don't know. So I don't really care. I don't care. And that's why, you know, so many people like, John, in the shot where Thanos is throwing his hand and Captain is stopping his hand, maybe they're CGI stones. I'm like, why would they do that? There's no point in doing it. Because it gives away a spoiler. Then why show any of the stones? Why show the glove on him? Why show him coming through a portal in a new TV spot where he's got 4 stones in it? I mean, what's the point? I just don't, at this point, I don't care because it doesn't tell me anything. There's nothing I can speculate about. There's nothing they can tell me about. So again, I'm not saying nobody should care. This might be a huge deal to you, and if it is, that's awesome. I'm just saying, for me, I don't care because there's nothing I can actually glean from it because in none of these shots do I get any sense of context. And without context, the images I'm seeing could mean absolutely anything. And so I just don't worry about it. That's why people, you know, asking me to speculate about the Soul Stone. I'm like, I'm not going to speculate about the Soul Stone because I really don't know. I haven't got the slightest clue, and I don't care. About that stuff. Again, not that anybody else shouldn't care, and not that it's not totally worthy movie discussion to have. It just happens to be one of those topics I don't care about because it doesn't really get me any further ahead in my overall speculation about the movie. So that's just me. So, but yes, I have seen the spot, I have seen the shot, and I've just gone, oh, cool. But what it means and what it could, all that kind of stuff, I don't care about. I'll just be honest with you, I really don't. All right. The next question, if I can get over to it here, because I'm having some troubles. Here we go. The next question comes to us also from Digoto, who writes, oh, damn, a real challenging question. If you can only see Deadpool 2 or Solo, which do you choose? Man, that's tough. That's tough. Look, I'll tell you this much. Up until seeing the new Solo trailer yesterday, which, I mean, how great was that trailer? I would say that I'm actually looking more forward to Deadpool 2. That's not a knock on Solo at all. It's a Star Wars movie, for heaven's sakes. But I love Deadpool. And them doing a Deadpool 2, I'm ridiculously excited about it. So, up until yesterday, I would say that I've been looking forward to Deadpool more, to Deadpool 2 more than Solo. I think that's very fair to say. I've been more looking forward to Deadpool 2 than Solo. Looking forward to them both, but more excited for Deadpool 2. However, had you posed the question to me, which one, if I could only see one, which one will I see? It would probably be Solo. Even though I'm more excited for Deadpool 2, even though I'm more looking forward to Deadpool 2, the fact of the matter is Solo is a Star Wars movie. And if I only get to see one, either Deadpool 2 or Solo, I'm going to go see Solo. And by the way, up until yesterday, I was looking forward to Deadpool 2 more. Now I'm not so sure. Now with that new trailer out, I am more on board with this Solo movie now than I've ever been. Because you know me, I've been a little, I'm looking forward to it, yes, but it's a movie I've never asked for. I've never asked for a standalone Solo movie. There's been a lot of drama behind the scenes with it, with the Lord and Miller stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I've been looking forward to it, but a little iffy. That trailer yesterday got me on board. I'm full-fledged on board, excited for Solo now. Whether or not I'm more looking forward to it than Deadpool 2, I'm not really sure yet. But either way, if I could only watch one, I'm probably going to go see Solo just because it's a Star Wars movie. So there you go. Adam Griffin writes, with this new trailer, Solo, over under 165 million. Dude, I'm telling you what, when that tracking number came out of 150 million opening weekend for Solo, I thought it was crazy. Because I'm thinking tops $100 million. Like, before the tracking numbers came out, I was thinking tops $100 million. I thought the movie will do fine financially, but it's not going to have a massive opening weekend. Like, it'll have a solid opening weekend. I was thinking like 80, 90, maybe even $100 million. Now you got these tracking numbers out there that are saying 150 million opening weekend. And I'm like, what? Really? And now I got guys, understandably, Adam, like you asking, with that trailer and seeing the response that this trailer is getting from people. Now you're asking me over under numbers of 165. Look, I'll still take the under. I'll take the under on 150. I'll take the under on 120 right now. I have not been able to wrap my head around the notion that everybody's excited about this movie. I'm not there. I'm just not there yet. So I'm going to take the under on that. I'm going to take the way under on that, as a matter of fact. But we'll have to wait and see. Follows up with another over under 55%. We see Chewie lose a game and rip an arm off. I'll go under because it might feel like it's a little bit too on the nose. That might feel a little bit like a little too much like fan service pandering. And a little bit of fan service pandering is good in healthy doses, but I think that one might feel a little bit too on the nose, a little bit too over the edge. Let's see. Amin writes, what percent would you give Black Panther staying in the top 10 weekend box office by the time Infinity War releases? Could this be the first time two MCU films are in the top 10? I give it 100%. I'm going to give Black Panther 100% of being in the top 10, provided they don't pull it out of theaters. Look, here's the reality. Let me pull this up here. The fact of the matter is, it's still in the top 4. See, to me, the question isn't, will it still be in the top 10? The question is, will it be in the top 5? Because right now, it's still in the top 4. It's number 4 right now at the box office. Okay, so, assuming that blockers may fall behind Black Panther, Quiet Place will stay ahead of it. It's got massive legs, massive good word of mouth. Ready Player One will stay ahead of it. It's got really good word of mouth. Then we go over to the release schedule, and we see there's not a whole ton opening up between now and Infinity War. Not a whole ton. Borg versus McEnroe is not going to be a big blockbuster film. It's a great movie, but it's not going to be a big blockbuster film. Truth or Dare is going to get the little horror audience, and Rampage is going to be fairly, compared to those other films, it's going to be big. So Rampage will definitely get ahead of Black Panther. Super Troopers 2, I think, by that point, Black Panther is probably going to be making like $4 million. I think Super Troopers 2, when it opens on the 20th, is not going to be a blockbuster hit, but it's going to make more than $4 million. And then on the 27th, we got Infinity War. To me, it's I feel like it's as certain can be that Black Panther will still be in the top 10. That's not the question to me. The question is, will it still be in the top 5? That's where it becomes iffy. Because I believe there is a potential chance Black Panther may still be in the top 5. I never would have thought that 3 weeks ago. But it's becoming apparent that there is a chance it could be in the top 5. Definitely it'll be in the top 10. Is this the first time 2 MCU films are in the top 10 together? I believe so. It's also going to be the first time that 2 of these movies ever open remotely close enough to each other to do that. Especially with Avengers Infinity War moving in even a week earlier now, right? So it's going to be the first chance that it even has to do it. So it's not all that ridiculous. But I'm telling you, top 10 is easy. It may still be in the top 5. It's possible. All right, let's move on here. Adamus95 writes, do you think the monsters in A Quiet Place have the potential to become just as iconic as the Xenomorph, Gremlins, Predator? Nope. No, because the movie's not even about them. I mean, I'm not going to go into it in depth here because I don't want to give any spoilers away. But at the end of the day, what makes A Quiet Place so special is that the movie's not even about those monsters. The monsters are a side note in it, and that's what makes this movie so spectacular. And the reality is they don't have a ton of screen time either. So no, they're not gonna. Those monsters they're barely recognizable, to be honest with you. So no, I don't think we're gonna see that happen. The number Thor writes, did you watch WrestleMania last night? And what did you think of it and Ronda Rousey's debut? I did watch WrestleMania last night. My buddy Ryan and Kaori came over last night. Anne's out of town. But Ryan and Kaori came over last night. We watched WrestleMania. I watch a couple of wrestling events a year now. Gotta say, I was very pessimistic about Ronda Rousey going into the WWE. And, I mean, I knew she had no other choice. She can't go back into MMA. So I was dubious. Because I don't think she has very good mic skills. I don't think she would do well on the mic at all. But, holy shit. She looked great. Look, full marks and tip of the hat to the trainers and the people of the WWE because they prepared Ronda. And Ronda is just such, obviously, a naturally gifted athlete. But, oh my God, she looked great. Like, all due respect to Stephen Amell, but when Stephen Amell, who is the Green Arrow, when he went in that the one WWE big pay-per-view event, he looked great for an actor who's not a wrestler. I was raving about it. He looked great for an actor who's not a wrestler. Clearly, he wasn't on the professional wrestler's level, but he looked great for an actor. Ronda Rousey looked like she's been doing this for 20 years. And she looks smooth, and a lot of her moves and takedowns look better than some WWE wrestlers do it. And so I'm going to tell you, I was shocked. Like, I'm sitting there, me, Ryan, and Corey kept looking at each other like, did that really just, like, holy shit, she looks good. Like, she looked really, really good. And especially when she was throwing strikes, because one of the things, no matter how good the wrestlers are, when they're actually punching, it doesn't look so good. When Ronda Rousey started throwing off her combination punches and stuff like that, it looked fantastic. For those of you who don't care about wrestling, this is boring you to death, I understand, but I'm just saying, I was thoroughly impressed. I wasn't impressed with WrestleMania overall, but that one thing, there were a couple things I liked, but that Ronda Rousey's debut was really impressive, I gotta say. Brett Ward writes, Battleship, I've never pronounced this right, Potemkin, thoughts? Battleship Potemkin, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, like, you're going, what is that, like 1924? 1925? 26, something like that. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, and you're forgiven if you don't, probably the majority of you don't know what he's talking about. Battleship Potemkin is this classic silent film from like 1923, 24, 25, 26. It's in that window somewhere. Considered one of the more important and influential films of all time. It's a silent film set during like 1905, during this mutiny on this Russian ship. And it's set in the background of the revolution and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, it's considered, like, for its use of montages and things like that, it's considered like one of the formative films, and one of the most influential movies of all time. I have not seen that film. I mean, I saw that movie like once, like 20 years ago. So, I mean, it's been forever and an age. Can't really comment on it other than to say it's a very important film. It's a very influential film, but it's not one when I'm bored on a Saturday night, it's not one I pop on. I'll just be honest with you. So I can't really comment on it beyond much more beyond that. Luna Comics writes, John, I don't get why I don't get why, is that an acronym, HATF? I don't get why have to think about, have to, okay. John, I don't get why we have to think about the negatives on a movie we love deeply. Isn't it better to think positive? What's the point in being negative? No, look, that's not what I'm saying. That's what I've never said. But what I have said before is that it's like, look, if you want to be a true film fan, you got to be willing to acknowledge the negatives in a film. Acknowledge the positives in a film you hate. Acknowledge the negatives in films you love. Because if you can't acknowledge the negatives in a film you love, then you don't really love that movie. You're just loving parts of it and choosing to ignore other parts of it. I've never said, look, when you just sit around and think about a movie, I'm not sitting there and saying, ponder the negatives of a film. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying be willing to acknowledge the weaknesses of a film. And just because something is a weakness in that film to somebody else doesn't mean that's a weakness to you. But the odds are, like, you will acknowledge, if you're honest, that even in your favorite movies, there's a couple of things that probably don't work quite so well for you. I'm not saying sit around and ponder the negatives. I'm simply saying you got to be willing to acknowledge the negatives. Like me, just for example, my number one thing of fandom is Star Wars. Nothing more in fandom has a deeper place in my heart, like in the entertainment industry, than, Toronto Maple Leafs probably do, but in the entertainment industry as Star Wars, right? I love Star Wars. I'm passionate about Star Wars. And when me and my buddies sit around, we'll talk about the things we love. But I'm more than willing, if you want me to acknowledge and tell you about the things that didn't work about Star Wars for me, I'll sit down and make a laundry list for you. I do not like the prequels. I hate the prequels. I don't like Clone Wars. Rebels is a little hit and miss. Overall, I like Rebels, but it's a little bit hit and miss. I'm a big fan of The Last Jedi, but I got my issues with The Last Jedi. I'm more than willing to sit down and write out a laundry list for you, blah, blah. It's about where you get into very fragile fandom is the fandom that goes, I'm not willing to say anything good about a movie I don't like. 0, 0, 0. Or then on the opposite side of that, I'm not going to listen to anybody say anything negative about a movie that I like. It's a 10. It's a perfect 10. Everything's perfect about it. That's where you get into fragile fandom. And I believe that is the kind of like the seeds that sow toxic fandom. When you get fans that refuse to acknowledge the good things about something they don't particularly like, and when you get fans that refuse to acknowledge the negative things in something that they love, that's kind of the sowing the oats of toxic fandom. Again, I'm not saying you need to sit around and like mull over the things you don't like about your movie. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying as a film fan, you gotta be willing to acknowledge the things that are weaknesses in the things that you love. Again, look, your mother knows you're an asshole. Your mom knows you're an asshole. But your mom loves you. Loves you anyway. My wife knows every rotten thing about me. Every bad quality about me, my wife loves. She doesn't pretend those things don't exist, but she loves the totality of who I am anyway. That's love. That's love. Not pretend, not sticking your fingers in your ears and sticking your head in the sand. That's not love. That's not true fandom. So again, I'm not saying focus on the negative. I'm just saying being willing to acknowledge the negative. That's all. Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, that's just kind of my outlook on fandom, if you will. Okay, let's move on here. Next one comes to us from Brett Ward, who writes, Manos, The Hand of Fate. Thoughts? LOL, just messing with you. Love the show. Watch every day. Thank you very much. I'll be honest with you. That one, I have got no recollection of, so I can't even talk about that one, to be honest with you. Thanks a lot, Brett. All right, next one. AFC writes, finally seen Emoji Movie. What an awful film story. Oh, God, man. I'm telling you. I tried to have some optimism for the Emoji Movie. I really did. I got a couple of chuckles at a couple of the trailers. I did not have high hopes. I was not prepared for just how awful that film is. And look, all film's subjective. So if you saw it and you liked it, that's great. I celebrate that with you. But for me, my experience was horrible. It's almost unimaginable. Every once in a while, you see a movie that is so bad that you think, I could have done a better job than they did. I mean, everybody says, I could have done better than you, and the real answer is no, you couldn't have. But every once in a while, you come across a movie that's so bad, like Emoji Movie, that I have to ask myself, and I have to honestly wonder, it's like, I actually think I could have done a better job on that. And that's saying a lot. And that's just how wretched that awful is. Like, oh my, like I cannot believe anybody ever greenlit it. Like I just, oy. Ben Rayner writes, just announced Roy is coming back to Arrow as a regular next season. Does this excite you at all? To me, it feels like they're rebuilding season 2 Arrow. Hey, look, I gotta tell you, I liked Roy. Look, I hated Roy for a while. I did not like the character for a while, but then they did some stuff with that character, and I actually started to dig the character and the way they were using him, and then unfortunately he disappeared. The actor's name is Colton Haynes, and I like Colton Haynes. And my wife and Anne and Kaori love Colton Haynes. I don't get why they love him to that degree, but they love Colton Haynes. And so I liked his appearance on the show. And I gotta tell you what, man, if they're looking at rebuilding, I'm all for it. Because like rebuilding season 2, because I'm all for it. Because the show was never better than it was in season 2. And I'm sorry, but this whole new crew they've got and this whole Civil War storyline they're setting up. Look, as much as I shit talk, I still watch Arrow every week because I keep waiting for it to get good again. Because it's kind of like the same thing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I keep watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And oh my fucking God, can you believe they're back to fucking Hydra again? They're back to Hydra again in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the 75th time. We got rid of Hydra. Oh, Hydra's back. We got rid of Hydra. Oh, Hydra's back. Cut off one head. 2 more take us place. La la la. Fuck me. They're back to fucking Hydra again. Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry. Anyway, I keep watching shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Arrow because I love the comic book genre. I just keep, like an idiot, I just keep watching them, hoping that they get better. Anyway, this whole thing they've got going on with Arrow right now with their little version of Civil War is pathetic. It's just pathetic. You got this one dude who's a scientist dude. I'm Mr. Terrific, and I love the actor. And I like the character before they try to make him... So again, that's one of the big banes of Arrow, is everybody's a superhero. It's like you're I don't know, fuck, what? You're a McDonald's fry dude. Great, but you hate crime? Let me get you a mask and you're a superhero. Like, you're a scientist dude and all that kind of stuff. Let's just slap a mask on you and call you Mr. Terrific. You're borderline psychotic with a really sketchy background and you carry around guns. But whatever, you seem to hate crime, let's make you a superhero. And that's kind of like the big weakness of Arrow right now. And them trying to do this, and which is too bad because this new Canary character they have, I think she's a great character. But this whole Civil War thing feels just stupid and dumb. And it's clear who is right and who is wrong. And it's mind-boggling bad. Mind-boggling bad. And they keep having drama with the team. Now, Diggle says he's leaving and all this kind of stuff. So, look, I'm so sick of this show and how they waste such a great premise and a great lead actor. Actually, him, Diggle, Felicity, I think the three core, the trinity of that show are all great, particularly Stephen Amell. I think the dude's amazing. He deserves to have a better show built around him than what they're giving him right now, because right now it's kind of shitty. So anyway, if they are trying to get back and just say, hey, you know what, let's just wipe the slate. Let's get back to the fundamentals of what made this show so great in the first few seasons. And if they are trying to get back to that season 2 chemistry, I'm all for it. I'm all for it if they do. Anyway, AFC writes, atmosphere A Quiet Place creates in cinema. Wow. And that's the thing. One of the things I said in my review about A Quiet Place AFC is that there's this hallmark of good Asian horror films, which is they use atmosphere and tone as a vital piece of the puzzle in their overall horror movies. Whereas a lot of North American horror movies are just boo, you know. A lot of Asian horror, they really get atmosphere and tone is such an important part of the movie. And that's one of the things I loved about A Quiet Place is that they really nailed the atmosphere. All right. Guitar Dude 513 writes, just watched Captain America, the First Avenger for the first time, filling in gaps before Infinity War. Really love the Peggy/Steve romance in that one. Underrated movie. Dude, Captain America, the First Avenger might be the most underrated MCU movie. That movie is great. I honestly don't know why anybody ever gave it a hard time or continues to give it a hard time. That movie is great. I'll go so far as I think it is the best origin movie they have. And in understanding that I don't consider Guardians of the Galaxy an origin movie because Groot, Rocket, Drax, they were all around doing their thing already before they came together as a team. But Captain America is a movie about him becoming Captain America. I think that movie is great. I really, really like that movie. So I'm glad you had a chance to catch up on it, man. I can't think of a good username writes. Do you think Woody Harrelson will turn out to be the Solo villain? See, I kind of let slip on the John Campea show earlier that I know who the villain is. So I'm not going to answer that question. And in no way me not answering is suggesting that he is or is not. I'm just not going to give any sort of anything away about that whatsoever. So I can't even address that question. Can't even address it, unfortunately. But how good was that trailer? Shane Hill writes, hello, John. Just came in to tell you the Leafs are going down. Go Bruins. Also, I'm going to see Ready Player One for my birthday today. Well, first of all, happy birthday, Shane. Burn in hell. You and your Bruins. I love the Bruins. Dude, I go all the way back to Ray Bourque. You know, I used to love the Bruins. One of my junior teams that I played on when I was a kid was the Bruins, and I wore Bourque's number. And Zdeno Chara's a beast and all that kind of stuff. I have no doubt the Leafs are going down because that's what they've done my whole life. My entire life, that's what the Leafs do. The Leafs go down. That's what happens. I love them anyway. They're my favorite thing in the world, but they go down. I'll cheer for them as the ship is sinking, but that's what the Leafs do. They go down. And Boston is a wicked team. Although, I will point out, the Leafs won the season series 3-1. I'm just saying. I'm not kidding. Anne is in Boston right now. Well, she's in Rhode Island right now, but she's right beside Boston right now for Hasbro, for work. And I honestly, just about 10 minutes before I started the show today, I hopped on NHL.com and looked up tickets for Game 1. That's on the 12th at the Boston Arena there. And the $300 a ticket. And I'm seriously considering, Anne's not watching this show, so it doesn't matter. I am seriously considering buying 2 tickets, hopping on a plane, flying down there, surprising Anne, and taking her to go see the Leafs play the Bruins down there on the 12th. Because it'll be a hell of a lot cheaper than flying to Toronto and trying to watch them play Toronto. In Toronto, because Toronto, I'd have to give up a kidney or something to get tickets in Toronto. But there are tickets available in Boston for reasonable prices for playoffs. And I'm thinking about it. I am honestly thinking about shooting down to Toronto or shooting out to Boston for 24 hours. Just to see the game. Probably crash there, catch a morning flight back here, do the show, blah, blah, blah. But we'll see. And again, happy birthday, man. Okay, Number Thor writes, I absolutely love the new Solo trailer. I think it will beat Rogue One box. Oh, really? I think it'll beat Rogue One's box office easy, but I also think it may be a dark horse and even beat The Last Jedi? All my friends say, no way, I'm crazy. Well, I'll join your friends and say, no way, you're crazy. That's $1.3 billion. Like, even Black Panther hasn't done that yet. But I just don't see Solo cracking $1 billion. But think about this. If Solo does crack $1 billion, and I don't think it will, just for the record. If Solo cracks $1 billion, here's the neat thing here. A lot of times these discussions come out, do you think the MCU is more relevant today than Star Wars? And I say no. And people say, well, how can you say that? I say, simply look at it. They've only put out 3 Star Wars movies in the last couple of years, just 3. Every single one of them is over $1 billion. If Solo comes out, and if that crosses the billion mark, which again, I don't think it will, but if it does, That will be 4 films in a row, just since the other year, that Star Wars has put out 4 films in a row cracking $1 billion. The MCU never has, and the MCU never will do that. The MCU will never do that. They're about to have 2 in a row with Black Panther and Infinity War, but Ant-Man and the Wasp isn't going to crack $1 billion. At least I don't think it will. I don't think Captain Marvel will crack $1 billion. And Ant-Man doesn't need to crack $1 billion. Captain Marvel doesn't need to crack $1 billion. But that'll be, first of all, I don't know that the MCU will ever have 3 films in a row that crack $1 billion. I don't know that that's ever going to happen. If Solo cracks $1 billion, to make it 4 films in a row in the franchise, all of them cracking $1 billion, it's never going to happen. MCU will never do it. But again, I just cannot believe that Solo's going to break $1 billion. I mean, I hope it does. That would be great. I'll dance in the streets with the rest of Lucasfilm, but I just can't see it happening, man. Andrew Oldham writes, over under 50%, that warp scene in Solo is the Kessel Run. In over 12 parsecs? I think you meant under. I think you mean under that. Anyway, I'm going to take the under. I don't think it has anything to do with the Kessel Run, to be honest with you. I don't actually think anything with Lando will have it, although theoretically it could be. All Han said, Han didn't say, I made the Kessel Run. He said, the Millennium Falcon, she's the ship that made the Kessel Run. So maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it is Lando. It's possible. But at 50%, I'll take the under on that. Curtis Lopez writes, what was your first job ever? My first job ever was working at a Harvey's fast food restaurant in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. That was it was just as the new Harvey. By the way, Harvey's, F you every other fast food place. Harvey's has the best fast food burgers in the business. Fast food burgers. Now, Red Robin, more gourmet burger types of places, that's different. But as far as fast food burgers go, Harvey's makes a hamburger a beautiful thing. They're the best burgers in fast food. But anyway, and there's a Harvey's, for those of you living in and around Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, there's a Harvey's on the corner, I want to say I think of Rymel and Upper Ottawa. Yeah, Rymel and Upper Ottawa. I believe there's a Harvey's right there, right next to like a Swiss Chalet. And when that Harvey's opened, when they were opening up that new Harvey's, I applied for a job there. I got a job there, flipping burgers. That was my very first job, and I still remember it fondly. Let's see. Caleb Bradford writes, after watching the new Solo trailer, are you more sold on Alden as Han? Well, here's the thing. I've been sold on Alden all along because I think he's a really good actor. So when they announced that they cast him, I was really happy. I was very happy when I heard that they cast him. So I'm sold on him already. Sold on him as Han specifically, it's tough to say. Because look, what we see in the trailers is a very small sample size. I'll say this. I haven't seen anything in the trailers to take away my belief in him. But I'm not going to say, no, I'm really sold on him. I saw him say 4 or 5 lines in the trailer. They were good lines, yes, but they were out of context. So I don't know that it's made me more sold on him. I will say this, though. I've always been sold on him. And what I've seen from him in the trailers has not taken away from my enthusiasm about him in the movie at all. So I'll say that. Okay, next one. Curtis Lopez writes, how old were you when you had your first official girlfriend? Oh, wow. It was late. I was a loser. Well, I mean, let's be clear. I'm still a loser. But I have been a loser all the way back. I don't think I had my first official girlfriend till I was like 15 or 16. Oh, God. And I think it was... it was this girl, Kim. I dated this girl, Kim. And I liked Kim. Kim was nice. And then later, as an all teenager, that didn't last long. But later, I'm working for my dad was like big head honcho of construction for our city, right? And one of his inspectors, like I'm just like this high school student, right? And one of my dad's inspectors, one of my dad's buddies, I find out he's dating, this is like a couple of years later, he's dating my old girlfriend. So now granted, the girl was a couple years older than me when I dated her, but yeah, I think Kim was the first girl that I ever called my girlfriend. I think, yeah, so I was like, I think I was like 15 or 16, late bloomer, obviously. And then my second girlfriend was Anne. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Andrew Oldham writes, meant less than 12 pies. No problem, Andrew. I had you. I knew what you were going for. Curtis Lopez writes, what was the hype like when the first Jurassic Park came out? I was born that year, so I wouldn't really know. Honestly, when it came, I don't remember the hype being that big. I don't remember the hype being that big for Jurassic Park when it came out. Let me just look this up here. Okay, so Jurassic Park came out in 93. So, I mean, I was barely out of high school. And, the internet wasn't a big thing. So, I mean, yeah, I honestly, like, maybe it was being hyped in certain circles. I don't remember it being hyped that much when it first, like, when it was coming out. When it was coming out. Once it was out and everybody was loving the movie and talking about the movie, that was different. But I don't remember the hype for the movie that being that big. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe those of you guys who were around when that came out, leave your thoughts. What did you think? How did you gauge the hype at the time? All right. ZOMG Ruler writes, someone left their stuff outside a shopping center, including a Wonder Woman toy. I was tempted to take it, but Diana wouldn't approve. I sent it to Lost and Found. Good on you. That's a very Canadian thing to do. I remember once, seriously, in Canada, I was in a mall, and I took my wallet. I had my wallet in my back pocket. Again, I think I was in high school. I took my wallet out of my pocket, because it's uncomfortable to sit down in jeans when you got a wallet in your back pocket, and I put it on the food court table in the mall. And then I absentmindedly got up and walked away. And I didn't even realize it till I went to get on the bus to go home. And I ran back in, and like an hour had passed. Sure enough, it's not sitting there on the table anymore. I went to the Lost and Found. There it was. And I had like $60 in there, which to me was like a mountain of money. I had like $60 in my wallet, and I went there. All my cash was in there. Everything was good. I mean, but I wasn't even really surprised because that's Canadian. So that was a very good Canadian thing of you to do, man, to return it to Lost and Found. Good on you. Trevor Riches writes, what are some of your favorite songs of all time? Well, I mean, that's a really long discussion. But as I've mentioned before, my all-time favorite song is Where the Streets Have No Name by U2. I think it's the greatest song ever written. It's the greatest example of that ring guitar style that the Edge has. Yeah, that's my favorite song of all time. Let's see. Andres Castillo writes, John, did you watch WrestleMania last night? As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I did. Not super impressed with it. There were a few highlights for it for sure, but that Ronda Rousey thing, completely impressed me. Zombatron 5678 writes, Mass Solo villain is Snoke, maybe Iron Spider. I'll give you this much information. I can confirm for you right now. And I know maybe I shouldn't be giving this away, but I will confirm for you right now that the masked villain in Solo is neither the Iron Spider nor Snoke. Now, maybe I'm going to have to put a spoiler warning in the title of this video now that I've told you that, but I can confirm that the masked villain is neither Snoke nor is he the Iron Spider. All right. The next one comes to us from Nathan C., who says, I still think Alden in this trailer is monotone. Well, I mean, hey, look, it's all subjective. All I can say is you watched a different trailer than me then. Because I thought he played it perfectly. Because if you watch the original Star Wars, with Han sitting in the cantina in A New Hope when he first meets Obi-Wan and Luke, you look at the way he's talking in there, that's Han Solo. That's the Han Solo we're getting in this trailer as well. It's a great incarnation of the character. Now, it's all subjective. It came across a certain way to you. There it is. But for me, as somebody who grew up watching A New Hope, going, oh my God, this is That's the same Han Solo from A New Hope. The way he delivered those lines, the little tone of snark in his voice, all that kind of stuff. I thought he played it perfectly. I really did. But you're not wrong. I mean, if that's how it hits you, that's how it hits you, man. That's the beautiful thing about the subjectivity of film. Mr. Spider 336 writes, saw La La Land recently, and who knew how emotional this film would be? Actually made me cry. Killer performance from Gosling, and the music was great too. Yeah, and it was I think the world had pretty much realized by now that Emma Stone was for real. And La La Land became kind of that explanation mark on it. And that's why she won Best Actress at the Academy Awards that year. It is really a good movie. It's a very, very good movie. I know it's not the type of movie that's for everybody. I get it. I know a number of people who don't even want to watch it, and that's fine. But it is a really good film. And I'm glad you had a chance to watch it, Mr. Spider. Let's see. The number Thor writes, I've never listened to U2 before, but today at my friend's house, he played the album How to Defuse an Atomic Bomb. Actually, the name of the album is not How to Defuse an Atomic Bomb. The name of the album is How to... why am I forgetting the actual name of it? How to... it's not How to Defuse. It's a D. Why am I freezing on this? It's How to Dismantle. How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb is the name of the album. But anyway, let's see. For today, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, and I love the song Vertigo. What are your thoughts on the song and the album? It's a good album. It's not in my top 3 favorite YouTube albums, but Vertigo's on that. My favorite song on that album is actually called City of Blinding Lights, which I thought, the first time I heard it, I thought no other song in history will be played more in trailers than this song. And I have heard it used in a couple of trailers. It's a, oh, you look so beautiful tonight. That's my favorite song on the album. I love that. But hello, hello, there's a place called Vertigo. That's another great song. Yes, absolutely. There's a few good songs on that album, but City of Blinding Lights is my favorite song on that album. I absolutely love that song. Let's see. Oruk Usaki writes, there's a 5-minute video on YouTube called Bat Meal Forever, and I promise you that you're going to chuckle the whole time. P.S. Watch until the very end. All right, I will check it out. And now, if I go to that video, though, I'm taking your word that's 5 minutes. If I go to this video, it's like 35 minutes. I'm not watching that video. 5-minute video. Everybody make a mental note. Bat Meal Forever. You've got me intrigued. I'm going to check it out. Thank you for making the recommendation. Number Thor writes, thoughts on the Peter Sellers Pink Panther movies? Oh, they're great. They're classic. And, you know, I would always love the parts where, because, you know, he's got that sidekick dude who's supposed to try to sneak up and attack him whenever. I always love those scenes. They've tried a number of times to remake and redo those films. They've never captured the magic of the original Peter Sellers ones. But I will say they tried doing one. This is not the Steve Martin ones, like even before the Steve, where this is going back to like the 80s. I remember they tried doing one where the lead character was like the nephew of the Peter Sellers character. And his name was like Detective Slay. And he's talking to some French guys. And my name's Detective Slay. And the cop guy's like, Slay as in kill? And the guy goes, no, Slay as in one horse open. And I just remember that one line stuck with me for my whole life because I thought it was hilarious. But no, I love the Pink Panther movies. They're great. A lot of people have not watched the Pink Panther movies. Watch the classic Peter Sellers Pink Panther movies. So good. And when you watch them, they're like The Godfather in a way that there are a number of things that they did in those Pink Panther movies that you will instantly recognize as influencing a lot of movies that came after it, including films that are being done today. So the Peter Sellers Pink Panther movies are definitely movies you should check out. Let's see. Mr. Spider 336 writes, in episode 9, I think Kylo will realize how lonely he is with all this power, so he goes out to seek Rey and plead to her. Meanwhile, Hux is trying to take over in his absence. Kylo and Rey team up versus first... No, I don't see that happening. What I do agree with is that I think the loneliness and the isolation of of Kylo. I think that'll be a thing in the movie, but no. First of all, if Kylo and Rey teamed up, maybe the two most powerful Force users, potentially the two most powerful Force users in the history of the galaxy, it wouldn't be Kylo and Rey versus anybody. It would be Kylo and Rey going, if they were working together and snap their fingers, the First Order's gone. So no, I don't see that happening. I don't think Kylo is getting redeemed. And I've already explained why I don't see that happening. Don't see him getting redeemed. But the loneliness factor is something that they've already hinted at, but I don't think the loneliness stuff is going to drive him to goodness. Loneliness is going to drive him even darker, I believe, into a darker place. And he may want Rey to join him even more, but she ain't going to join him. And that we see how Kylo reacts when he doesn't get what he wants. So I agree with you. I think that loneliness stuff with Kylo will play a factor in the film, but I don't see it making him go good. Or something dark like loneliness or fear or anything like that. I don't think, according to Yoda, those are not the types of things that lead you to the good side. Those are the things that lead you further down the dark side. And I don't think we're seeing Kylo getting redeemed. Let's keep going here. Jordan Miller writes, "What's up, John? Hope you enjoyed your weekend." I did, thank you very much. Was it WrestleMania 34 last night? Oh, that's awesome. And it was incredible. I gotta admit, that must have been a lot of fun in New Orleans. I was at the one near San Francisco a few years ago when Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar were fighting, and what's the other guy from S.H.I.E.L.D.? I forget his name, but he came running out to cash in the Money in the Bank. I was there at that one. But that would have been fun to be at the one in New Orleans. Was at WrestleMania 34 last night, and it was an incredible experience. Did you enjoy the show and favorite match? Well, I got to admit, I didn't love the show. They did some things like the one where the big guy brings out the little kid in the audience to be his partner. I thought that was stupid. The Undertaker John Cena match was a joke. There was a lot. The women's battle royal was terrible. I did love the Flair versus I can't remember the Asian girl's name, but I love their title match. I thought their title match was great. The AJ Styles match was pretty good, but again, it was the Ronda Rousey performance that impressed me the most. That's the one that really caught my attention. Nathan C writes, "Oops," and we had the big skip. Hold on a second, guys. Here we go. Nathan C writes, "Saw Peter Weir's Picnic at Hanging Rock. Talk about a director without a bad film. Hope he isn't retired. Also, a remake series with Natalie Dormer is coming." I am not familiar with Picnic at Hanging Rock, to be honest with you. I'm not familiar with it, so I can't really comment on it. But thank you for putting that on everybody's radar. The number Thor writes, "If you could captain any of these Star Trek ships, which one would you choose? Kirk's Enterprise, Picard's Enterprise, Janeway's Voyager, or Cisco's DS9 station? And what would you choose?" I choose to captain the Voyager. Well, I mean, it all depends. Like, do you have to inherit the circumstances that they're in? Because the Voyager was in a really crappy circumstance. I wouldn't want that at all. I'd probably go, I go Picard's Enterprise. Yeah. To me, that one's pretty easy. Picard's Enterprise. The DS9, you're stuck in the ass end of space. With the Voyagers, you're stuck in the Gamma Quadrant or whatever it is they called it in the thing, so you're never seeing home. Kirk's Enterprise, little outdated. Picard's Enterprise. There's the sweet spot. I'd go Picard's Enterprise, and that's the one I would take. All right, next one comes to us from Tested, who writes, "Where's Rush Hour 4 and Shanghai 3? Oh, hopefully they never happen. I have no desire for a Rush Hour 4. I don't think a Rush Hour 4 is ever going to happen. Shanghai, look, I love Shanghai Noon. And Shanghai Noon was the movie for me. Hold on, let me just bring this up here for a second. Shanghai Noon, for me, was really the movie that put Owen Wilson on the map for me. It's the movie that made me really aware of Owen Wilson. And I just adored him in that. And I thought the chemistry him and Jackie Chan had was great. And I was so excited for Shanghai Nights. But the problem is, that movie sucked. Shanghai Nights was terrible. And I'm just trying to bring up the box office here on Shanghai Nights. I can't remember how it did. Worldwide, Shanghai Nights made $88 million dollars on a $50 million budget. That means it lost money. It lost the studio tens of millions of dollars. So yeah, that's not so good. Shanghai Noon, on the other hand, didn't do a lot better, but it was a movie, it made about $100 million, which isn't great. But you'd think, with the movie being as good as it was, that the next one would go up in box office, and it didn't. It actually went down. And there was just no reason. I mean, if you were a studio executive and you greenlight a Shanghai 3, you would have been fired. Because you'd just be throwing the studio's money away. And as far as Rush Hour 4, I know both Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker have been talking for years. Oh, we're doing Rush Hour 4, we're doing Rush Hour 4, and it never comes. Rush Hour 3 was terrible. Here's the interesting thing. Rush Hour 2 is one of the few films in film history where, as a sequel, it was even better than the first film. Because I was okay with the first Rush Hour. Rush Hour 2, I love. Love Rush Hour 2. Rush Hour 3 was a sack of shit. In my opinion, at any rate. So I just don't see any reason to do Rush Hour 4. They keep saying they're going to do it, but I don't know why any studio would greenlight it, to be honest with you. I just don't see why a studio would put their money at risk to do it. So probably never going to happen. But they keep insisting it will, so who knows? Logan James writes, do you have a favorite moment from The Office? Single moment? So many. I mean, there were a lot of really good moments in that one season, not the series finale, but that one season finale that ended with Jim and Pan's wedding. Such a great thing. The series finale had a couple of great moments. Obviously, when Michael Scott left, there were some great moments there. I mean, you know what? You know what one moment really stands out to me a lot? It's the one moment in The Office when Pam does her art show. To me, look, Michael Scott was a joke of a character, and he was often portrayed as a joke, right? But do you guys remember that episode where Pam did her art show and nobody showed up? Nobody came to see her art at her art show except one person, Michael Scott. He showed up. I'm getting kind of misty just thinking about it. It was so sweet. He showed up. Not only did he show up, he was so enthusiastic about her work. Like, oh my God, you drew this? You drew this? Like, he was so excited about it. And he goes like, how much? And it was just supposed to be an exhibit, not for sale, right? So he's like, how much? I want to buy this, and I want to hang it on the wall in the office. Like, and he was just being sincere. And understanding the day that Pam had, I know for those of you who didn't even see the show, I'm boring you to tears, I know, but it moved Pam to tears. And she just needed to hug him. And he's like, what's going on? But it was that there was, beneath the ridiculousness of Michael Scott, was a guy who really cared. It didn't take away from his ridiculousness and how clueless he was in many things, but he had heart. And that moment, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that was my favorite moment in The Office. I might change my mind tomorrow, but I'm going to go with that one for now. All right. Hector Jeter writes, have you seen the new Infinity War chant? Wow, I cannot believe how many people have sent in questions asking me if I've seen the new Infinity War trailer. Chant. Yes. Have you seen the new Infinity War chant TV spot? Loved it so much, but hate myself for watching it. 16 days more. I honestly don't think it gives away much. I mean, it's a great spot, but really at this point, they're all starting to feel the same to me at this point, which is perfectly fine, by the way. But all these TV spots and everything, they're all just starting to feel the same. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That actually might be a pretty good thing. So I liked it. I watched it. I enjoyed it very much. But, I mean, it's just another spot for it. 16 days more. 16 days more. All right. Let's keep going here. Next one comes to us from Flick Talk, who writes, Hux is the voice of reason in the First Order. Sometimes. Getting tired of fans reducing his character to comic relief. Kylo would be screwed without him. Well, I mean, I think, Snoke himself. Look, when you get a character like Hux, who is so clearly calculating, so clearly smart. He's the one, he said they're on a string. Like, he's the one who set up that whole trap with tracking through hyperspace and everything, who is so calculating, who is so smart. He gives you great opportunity to have comedic moments with. Because he's so dead serious and because he's so, rash and all that kind of stuff, gives him great opportunity to deliver comedy. And I really like it. I really like it a lot. But yeah, make no mistake, he's not just a comedic thing. Like, even Snoke said, he may be a cur, but there's value in that cur. Like, Snoke recognized it as well. So I think he's a really good character. I quite like him. Bomb Squad writes, what comic book villain would you want to act as? Ooh. I don't know. I'd be a terrible actor. I mean, so I don't know. You know what? None. I'm just going to say none, because I would not do any character justice because I'm a terrible actor. So I would rather just say none and not affect any of them. Like, I'll tell you who my favorite villain is. My favorite villain is also my favorite comic book character, period, and that's Magneto. Magneto's my all-time favorite comic book character. So yeah, but I would never want to play him because I would never do the character justice. So yeah, I would probably stay away from that. Hector Jeter writes, you often say that An American Werewolf in Paris, just kidding, in London, and The Descent is your favorite horror movies. I've never seen them, so will I do a double feature and will thank you for it? Well, I mean, here's the thing. With American Werewolf in London, part of the reason why American Werewolf in London is my all-time favorite horror movie is the context in which I watched it for the first time. I was young. I was a kid. Actually, let me just bring this up here. American Werewolf in London release date. Okay, so American Werewolf in London came out in 1981. Okay? I was like 8 years old when that movie came out. And I saw it young. Like, I saw it about a year or two after it came out on home video. And scared the piss out of me. And to this day, I cannot watch that movie with the lights off. I can't do it. There's no other film like that. That movie is that. And I don't know if it'll have the same impact on an adult today watching it for the first time clean. Because when I watch it, I'm watching it also with that background that I am emotionally scarred from when I was a kid watching it as well. But The Descent, oh my God, The Descent is just... Don't be around anything that will rip easy, because you're going to tear couches apart. I mean, I just love The Descent so much. So check that out. And man, I don't know. Quiet Place, I need to give it some more time. I need to marinate on it a little bit more, but Quiet Place may be joining those films in that conversation. Quiet Place may be joining those films in that conversation. All right, guys, I just got like 2 minutes left here. So if I don't get around to your question, don't worry, guys. It'll be in the next companion video. Oh, and by the way, you might have noticed there wasn't a companion video today, because what I'm going to do now is, instead of putting those companion videos up in the middle of the day, I'm going to take all the live questions that we don't get around to, and I'm going to put them up in a companion video, and I'm going to put them up first thing in the morning. So that way, if you're like on the East Coast and you're waiting around for the John Campea show till like 11:30 in the morning or at noon, don't worry, I'm going to be putting up the companion video a lot earlier than that. So while you're waiting for the John Campea show to start, you're going to have a fresh piece of content to check out. So all the earlier questions from today, as well as the questions I don't get around to here during this show, are going to be on the companion video first thing in the morning. So there you go. All right, let's see. Zane writes, hope you're all having an awesome day. Felipe the mic is the soul stone. Yes, Felipe the sentient dancing microphone is officially, it's hidden inside here. That's where the soul stone is, right there. Thanks a lot, Zane. Next one comes to us from Anthony Montez, who writes, saw Quiet Place, enjoyed it, but the morons behind me kept making Jim from The Office jokes the entire time. Very disappointed. Security had to come in. Well, good. Well, I'm glad security came in. Because that's just ignorant. You know, it always breaks my heart when I hear these stories, because I almost have survivor's remorse, because I've been really lucky. I haven't had like a really bad experience like that in a movie theater in at least 6 or 7 years. I guess I'm just lucky that the movie theaters I go to most of the time, and yes, people whisper to each other, but I don't mind that so much. The odd time somebody brings out a phone for a second, like doesn't talk on it, but I see, and that's a little bit annoying, but for the most part, I haven't had a really bad experience in a theater in a long time. So when I hear about terrible things like this, I also have a little, not only do I feel bad for you, I have a little bit of survivor's remorse that I don't have those. That's really too bad, man. I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm glad security came in and finally got them to shut up. All right. And final question of the day comes to us from Best Bozeman Performance, 42, Get On Up, or Marshall. You know what's funny? I just did a video not long ago on Chadwick Boseman. And I'll tell you the exact... I'll tell you exactly what order I put them in. The order I put them in, and I gotta mute this thing here, but I'm pretty sure that the order I put it in was, 42. I think number 42 was my number one, and I feel good about that. My number 2 one was Marshall. He was so good in Marshall. Get On Up, he was great, but he's also fantastic in just as Black Panther. Let's not forget Black Panther as well. But yeah, Get On Up is fantastic in it. 42 is fantastic. Marshall, he's fantastic. I was really kind of sad to see more people didn't go see Marshall when it was out this past year. Marshall was really good. And Chadwick Boseman's incredible in it. Josh Gad is in it too. And I don't know that Josh Gad's ever been better than what he was in Marshall. But yeah, I'd say my favorite performance of his is 42. Okay, guys, I have gone over an hour. So once again, any of these live questions here, guys, that you sent in that I did not get around to, don't worry, they will be on the companion video first thing in the morning. Make sure you come back and check us out at that point. Hey, guys, don't forget, every morning, the John Campea Show, every afternoon, open mic. And guys, a little bit, in about an hour or two after this video's done, I got my new video of my 3 biggest worries about Avengers Infinity War. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you share it around and all that kind of stuff as well. That'll do it for me, guys, for this installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.